All right, God bless you all. Been a few days since I've made any type of videos, just because this right now, we're getting ready to, about the middle of November, maybe towards the end. This is getting ready to be my favorite fishing time of the year. I know a lot of people, they've already put up their boats. A lot of people, they've already decided that they're done fishing for the year. Me, I'm just the opposite. This time of year becomes a little tougher challenge, which is something that I love about fishing. This time of year, it also becomes that water is cooling down, so there's some days you don't get as many bites. You say, well, why would it be your favorite time of year if that's the case? Well, believe it or not, this is the time of year that from here to about March, you're going to have the chance of catching the biggest fish you catch all year. And I know that if you've watched any of the little videos that I've made, and I've been blessed to make, you think, man, you catch big bass all year long. Yeah, but literally the biggest ones that maybe y'all haven't seen, that I haven't shared, this is from here on out, this is the time of year. And there's a couple of factors that have to do with that, but I'll make a separate video. I really want to make this video here about this new rod, and I don't get sponsored by Falcon. I don't get sponsored by any of these rods. I will tell you that I don't get sponsored by them, but they're wonderful people, and they're right here in the Richmond cane pole. And if you live near, if you live in Kentucky and you live near Richmond, you need to come in and talk to the guys at Cane Pole. There's several of them that work there. Elbert usually is the one I talk the most about because he leads the team most of the time. He's in there trying to encourage and help all the rest of them. He's got all kinds of great guys in there willing to help you. But they've got a used rod program in there, that they've got several different rods that they bring back that are used, and they do trades and all kinds of things with them. You need to talk, I don't know all the details to it, so you need to go in there and talk to them. It gives me access to a lot of different rods. Over the years, I've tried my best to keep fishing, just because my shoulders, as I've gotten older, I don't have the same hook set and power. I've tried to go lighter on a lot of the outfits, which that's one of the things we're going to talk about here. I've tried different techniques to learn them, and it takes certain rods to do that or to be more efficient with it. One of them, and that's what we're going to talk about, is crankbaits. Let's call it treble hook lures, because this little rod right here we're going to talk about has blown my mind. I've been blessed over years to fish a lot of days. Okay, I fish more than the average person, and I'm very blessed. Thank the good Lord above for that opportunity. That's why, even though I felt bad, I can't get upset, because I've already been from here back to January probably more times fishing than most people would go in 2 or 3 years, let alone 1 year. So I'm very blessed. Okay, but we look forward to the rest of the year. This right here is a Falcon. The model number is CC417. This is called the cranker. It's got an action, it's medium. Flex, it's medium. Throw from 1/4 to 1/2 ounce, 7-footer. Okay? You say, well, it's just a medium action rod. What's the big deal? You can grab any medium graphite rod. Okay? Any of them. And I'm going to tell you right now, you can use them for a crankbait rod. You can use them for a lot of different things. The difference is, and this is where hopefully this little video is going to help some of you, the tip is the key. Okay? This one here, you see this tip that it has. It's probably about down, I'd say a foot, maybe 1.5 feet down this blank. This tip right here is the key. Yes, it has not a super soft tip, but it has a soft tip. Okay, so it's able, when you throw that crankbait, it's able to absorb that crankbait, because like I told you all before, I mean, we learned that bass don't attack it like we think we do. They don't reach up and grab it. What they do is they inhale it. So when they inhale it, you have to have a little bit of tip in order to allow that fish to absorb that crankbait into their mouth. Spinnerbait, all those things. Jigs, that's what they do. When you're using a jig and you feel that initial tick, actually what he did was he sucked it in, and you felt it either hit the roof of his mouth or the back of his mouth. What you felt that initial, he touched it, is what you did. So why does this rod become such a big deal? Is that, man, last year you talked to us about, and earlier in the year you talked about that other crankbait, solid fiberglass, how that was the way to go. Well, the only downside to the solid fiberglass is the weight of it all day long. Okay, as I get older, for a guy in his 20s and 30s, I'm going to tell you, go get your solid fiberglass rod. One of the newers they make, a composite rod that has a little bit of both. I'm telling you, your crankbait days are going to change because you're using that rod. Now, something that I tried was this. This is a graphite rod. This is all graphite, but it's made by several different pros. One in specific that he likes that rock crawler. That's what he uses this rod for all the time. This is a Falcon Carrot, okay? And that's what I started out using with it, just that. What I noticed though is, man, this rod's light, but it has a lot of backbone to it, so it's able to drive those hooks. Even though we think a lot of times all this has is just little small treble hooks, little fine wire that any rod can make that penetrate, and that's not true. It takes that backbone in order to penetrate that hook. You know, it has to have a little bit, but also you need to have that bend so that it'll hold that in. What I didn't expect out of this rod, and it's something I couldn't get out of the other rod that I had. The other rod did a great job of landing the fish, getting the fish hooked. I could use up to those bigger square bills that I was using. It was awesome. The problem is that's all I could do with it. And even though I was enjoying having dedicated crankbait rods, I was having to have so many rods in my boat that I was like, man, I wished I had a rod for this, because now it's not windy. Now this is going on. I wished I could throw a jerkbait again. And it's something that I hadn't done for a while because my shoulders again. I couldn't work that jerkbait because most of the rods are stiff, and when you go to hit the jerkbait, it pushes against it. So I decided one day that, hey, I had some of those little Smithwick Road jerkbaits in my box. They had them let me back up. What they actually had was a cane pole again. They had a little table set up of all these little used baits. And one of them was that little jerkbait, that Smithwick Rogue, and he had two of them there. And I said, you know how much you want for these? I couldn't believe what he said. I was like, wow, that's all you want for these? He's like, well, yeah, I get them, so here, this is how much I charge a piece. So I bought two of them. I said, well, I'll take those two right there. They look brand new. So I took them, put them in my boat. And the day that came up that I was like, you know what, I'm going to throw that little jerkbait, see what it does. Well, sure enough, I took this same rod that I had already caught fish on with a crankbait, put that jerkbait on there. And even though this is designated a cranker, I thought, well, man, I may be getting into trouble because with that fiberglass rod, I couldn't use the jerkbait. It was too spongy. Well, I was amazed at not only did it do decent on that jerkbait, it did great. So not only was I able to get the twitch that I wanted out of that jerkbait, but I was able to land quite a few fish that day. That blew my mind because I was like, man, this rod's actually good for jerkbaits too. And so now I had a rod in my boat that had two different techniques. Not only was I throwing my crankbaits with it, which here's one of the crankbaits that I absolutely love to throw. This is a black label. I believe this is that Plemons color. This is the Hickster. This is probably my absolute favorite. If I only had one crankbait to throw the rest of my life, okay, this would be it. I can throw this in the summertime. I can throw this in the wintertime. I can throw it on cloudy days, on sunny days. All I need to do some days is change the color. I've caught smallmouth. I've caught largemouth. I've caught spots. I've caught so many different fish. I've caught big ones. I've caught little ones. There's another one that's my second favorite. That's that little peanut. I've caught some really big smallmouth on it. And it's this little bit smaller size, a little bit rounder, but smaller size. But I love throwing these little crankbaits, and these are like 5/16, super easy to throw on this rod because of the action that this has, okay? Super easy to throw. And I love throwing it because it has these little number 6 hooks. So you need a rod that's going to be able to land that. You need a rod that's going to bring that. But having a rod that, and this video isn't necessarily about the crankbait, but when you get a rod that you can enjoy throwing the bait you're throwing, don't just pick a rod. That's what I'm trying to explain here. Don't pick a rod just because everybody says it's the best rod that it's going to be, and you think, well, I'm just stuck with that rod because it's the technique. If you have the opportunity and you have friends, talk to them. And you have guys that fish a lot, talk to them about, hey, why do you like that rod? Why do you like fishing with that rod? What is it about that rod that you really like? You just might be amazed that the reason they like it is because, well, that's just what so-and-so uses. You may realize that they only like one style of treble hook baits, okay? Me, that's what it started out with, because like I said, super light. I put a Lew's LFS on this, you know. At the time, I had 15-pound line because I was just using, that's what I used on my other crankbait rod. I used 15-pound Seagull for everything, that red label. I've switched now, and I've put 12-pound Seagull on this specific setup and on most of my crankbait rods now, just because I feel more comfortable that I can use a lot of these baits. I can get them just a little bit deeper. The action of them just a little bit more crisper on these smaller baits. I'm not really too worried about the depth because it really only gives you like maybe a foot deeper, but it allows me to cast these little baits, and it gives these little baits a little more action. But back to the rod, I was amazed that this setup right here, I could fish it all day long. Came home, my shoulders weren't bothering me when I got home that day. That fiberglass rod, I enjoyed using it, but when I got home, my shoulders were sore. I was done for the day. My day off had turned into, some days I would be done early because I'm like, well, I'm done for the day because I'm already wore out, you know. So that's just one of the things. That's just one of the things that I did. Alfie's kind of hyper and bouncing around everywhere. He's running all over the place. So back to the rod. So not only did I have a rod that I could throw these little black labels on, just little, Cliff Pace makes these as little balsa wood. If you don't know what they are, this is a little balsa crankbait. I could throw rock crawlers on this. I could throw my DT6s, my DT8s. I could throw a little smaller Lucky Craft, little square bills, 1.5s with no problem. I realized that number 4 hook, and that's kind of the last test that I had for it, I was like, man, they're hitting that top water. I got a feeling they're hitting that top water. So all I did was I unclipped this little bait, and I clipped on a Rio Rico popper. Number 4 Gamakatsu's on it, or maybe Hayabusas. I think it's Hayabusa round bends, and I tied and put the feather on them, so they're pretty sharp little hooks. So I was like, well, I wonder how it's going to do with these. It's probably going to overpower it, but I'm going to try it anyway. I want to see what it does. So that day I decided I was going to throw that popper. And all these little videos and stuff, I'll make a little category with this video. So, and I'll title it Falcon Cranker. That way, all these little videos you can see, that's what I use this rod for. Okay, they'll be all in this little series that I'm going to put on here. Because I want you to really see how versatile this little thing is. And not just because, hey, I'm going to sell these rods. That's not what it's for. It's for you to see that it's possible. And a lot of people, I know that's what they're doing. A lot of people are trying to find 1 or 2 rods to have that I can do different things with, instead of having 14 different rods. And I know maybe that's not rod manufacturer's best thing, but to a lot of us, it's like, man, I can only afford two or three rods, or I really only want to have 2 or 3 rods. This rod has become the versatile rod for me. It has become, when I use a treble hook bait with a number 4 size treble hook that's about the same diameter as you would use on those like I was talking about, just a regular round bend number 4 Gamakatsu or Hayabusa type treble hook, this is the rod I use for it. Okay, those Pro Rock Crawlers, they come with a little number 5 hook. These right here come with a number 6. The DT6 comes with a short shank number 5. Okay. The little jerk baits that I use, those little Lucky Craft, they come with a number 6. If you get the original Smithwick Rogue, the Lead 8, which is what I like, it goes a little bit deeper. Those jerk baits come with a number 6. So it's well within range for this rod. And that day with that topwater, when I was throwing that popper, man, they were coming up, and not only was it hooking them, but they were inhaling that popper a lot of times. They were grabbing that popper to where it was hooking them solid. I mean, I was having to use pliers to get the treble hooks out. And I was amazed at this rod able to do so many different things and yet be comfortable doing it. Because sometimes, let's be honest, we use the equipment and we're like, well, it worked, but I had to work harder to get it done. I had no problem with it. You know, with that jerkbait that I was using that day I went to Cumberland, it was a huge blessing because I ended up catching one of the biggest smallmouths, actually the biggest smallmouth that I ever caught on a jerkbait. You know, it was well over a keeper. And like I said, that video will be down there too. And it was on this rod. This rod's what I was using. I finally was blessed enough when a buddy of mine said, hey, I found you another one of those cranker Falcon rods. I was like, what do you want me to trade it with? What do you need to trade with so that I can get that rod? That's how excited I was. Because to me, that's just icing on the cake. If I can go out early in the mornings in the springtime, and I can have, or in summertime, and I can have this little hickster tied on one, and the other one I can have a little popper or a little walking bait, and I can do one of those two things, just pick up one rod or pick up the other, depending on what cover I see. And boys, I'm having an awesome, blessed day. If I can have one of these right here with a little shallow lip and one of them with a deeper lip, a DT6 and a DT8, or a DT4 and a DT8, and I'm going down the bank and I can fish all the pockets in the back of the pockets with that 4, and I can fish all the points with that DT8. And I do the same thing with these a lot of times. I've got a little razor. It's called it's a Black Label razor. I like throwing it when I get around deep, and I've got that little peanut, or I've got one of these right here, or the little Rec Junior, you know, that has a little shorter fat lip on it. I use this same rod for that. When I had that 1.5 Black Label, this is the rod I was using that day that I was wearing it out. I'm telling you, I was amazed to how many different fish, and I get it. I'm more blessed to go fishing than a lot of people, but I was amazed at this rod right here, how versatile it really was, and not having to overdo it. Have I lost fish on it? Well, I'm just going to tell you, I've used all kinds of different types of rods, and you're going to lose fish as part fishing. Okay, I'm not telling you that they're never going to come off, because I've had fish come off. That's just how fishing is. But I was amazed at how light it was. I'm amazed at the quality. You'll have to look up the warranties and stuff, because like I said, a lot of that technical stuff, it'd take a while to cover a lot of it. But I've been pretty impressed with this Falcon rod. You don't hear a whole lot. There are a couple pros that talk about it, but you don't hear a lot of people talking about this rod right here. What you do hear them talking about is a lot of the bigger name brands. You hear a lot. You have a couple pros that won a bunch of classics, and you hear about the ones they use. Well, I'll be honest with you guys. A lot of those, in my opinion, are cheaply made, and I don't want to get into a big argument. A lot of them are cheaply made, and the reason why they keep talking about them is because, let's be honest, they get all the ones they want pretty much give to them, or they get them for little or nothing. When it comes right down to it, every one of these rods, they make them to make money. So yes, the retail on them is low, but they have to sell them for something in order to keep a business. This is an actual quality rod. This, I'm surprised how quality these rods are. Now, years ago, they used to have a name for them, and in my opinion, they've got that name back, no problem, because I've been impressed with them. Anyway, that's my little review. That's my little talk about this rod. Hopefully, good Lord willing, I've been feeling a lot better here the last couple of days. Hopefully, another week or so. Job I'm in is going to be very busy this week coming up. But hopefully next week I get a day or two off. I can go to the lake for a little while and see what the Lord blesses me with. And I'm sure that this winter, if He's gracious enough to me, I'll be able to go fishing a few more times, and maybe even blessed even more to catch a few. So anyway, I hope all these tips, all these little things I've told you today, all of them will help you. If you have any questions more about the rod, if you have questions about the baits, if you have questions of anything I've said, you're more than welcome to message me. I don't care a bit to try to help. Like I said, I'm going to put all these together, and I'm going to make one playlist, and it's going to be titled Falcon Cranker Rod. So all the little videos that I have that I've used this cranker on here recently are going to be in that section. So you can get a pretty good idea of the different baits that I've said and how the Lord's blessed me with the different fish that I've caught. Anyway, God bless you all. Thank you all very much for watching the video. Thank you all very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for all the comments y'all have made. Every one of you is a blessing to me. I'm just an old man enjoying life, enjoying the salvation that the Lord Jesus gave me, enjoying the patience and the chance He's given me to do something for Him. That's why you hear me talking a lot about Him. Hoping all this praises Him. Thank you all very much. Don't forget, Jesus loves you all. Y'all have a blessed day.